let's take a look at a program that actually tests all the video cores, including the frame buffer within the video subsystem. So the code is shown right here. First, actually, once I remove my finger from actually the reset button, what you'll see is actually a bunch of LEDs blinking. Then I bypass all of the cores, wait for 3 seconds, and then I start basically to check. And the code just basically calls a few check codes, and you can actually read them. They're pretty straightforward. The first one is actually just check the frame, and really checking the frame is just basically drawing a few lines. The frame allows me to draw whatever I want because I can basically specify the value for each pixel separately using the processor. The bar check just shows the bar test pattern that we developed previously and we tested previously, and it just keeps it there. It basically turns off the bypass. It just lets it go through the pixel stream. And then the gray check in here basically just goes through, basically turns the picture into a grayscale for 3 seconds and then turn itself off, basically bypass it. Then there's a ghost check. Why don't I just basically show you these and then we continue. So we see that the LEDs are turning on, and then I have these basically this is the frame check, and then it goes on for about 3 seconds, and then we have the bar check, or the bar check. This is the same one we have, and then it turns into grayscale, and then the ghost check comes in. The ghost check is just basically this particular character in here that shows in. It's actually from Pac-Man. It just moves across, and then at some point it actually changes color. And in a later video, we're going to see how we actually can do it, but you should be able to do it at this later. Next, after the ghost check, we have an OSD, which is the on-screen display. It actually just displays a bunch of letters on the screen and just basically stays there for about 3 seconds. Next, we have a mouse check. What we'll see is actually a mouse pointer just moving. I'm not moving anything here on my fingers. Okay, it's just basically automatically doing, but you should be able to do that too when we get to talk about the sprite. And then here, what I have is if you wait a little bit, it just basically will repeat unless you assert switch number 0, which is not asserted now. So it's just basically repeating. It's just basically bypassing whatever is in the while loop in here. So if I want to see what's in the while loop, I can enter the while loop by just asserting the 0, and it just stays in there as long as that switch 0 is asserted to 1, which is the one right here. And internally, let me just do that in here so we get to see it. Of course, we're gonna have to wait for all the way to the mouse check to be done, and then once it sees this is a 1, it allows me to do a few things. So while this is happening in here, let me explain it to you. So the first one basically allows me to either show you the mouse or not show you the mouse. The other one shows you the OSD, basically the on-screen display with the characters or not. And then this one here shows whether you want to see the ghost or not. So let's take a look now. I believe now we are stuck in that particular loop now. It's just going on, but just none of the switches are asserted except for switch 0, which is here. So these 3 switches allows me, the first one allows me to turn off and on the mouse. The OSD, basically I can turn it off and on, which is the on-screen display in here. I can just basically turn it on and off. And in here, basically the gray, whether I want the ghost, sorry, I can turn it on and off as you see it in here. And then we have switch, basically 4 and 5 are not used, so I covered them in here. So we have switch number 6. Switch number 6 allows me to basically bypass the grayscale or not bypass it. So you can see I actually can control that. Switch number 7 allows me to basically turn off or on the bar, basically. We'll see later that basically the frame is behind the bar test generator. Let me just keep it in color. So it's basically just it covers the whatever is in the frame buffer. So the frame buffer have these, and when I turn it on, basically I don't bypass it. It just basically covers everything. The last ones are basically after the 9 in here basically allows me, which is I believe in here, it allows me to basically change the background color for those on-screen display. So there's a lot more switches in here. I believe these last switches in here allows me to change, for example, the last 2 switches allows me to change the color of the ghost. You get to look at this one here. You'll see it. So you have the color. I have, I believe, 4 colors. And you can basically see them 0, 0, 1, and 2, and so forth. It also allows me to change the orientation of where it's looking. So for example, it's now moving all the time, but I can actually stop it, and I can actually manually control where it's looking. So I can link it to the left, right. I believe I also have like 4 locations, and these 2 switches basically allows me to do it. That's what I can do. And that's basically the test. Now, if I wanted to get out of that particular test, basically out of that while loop, I can just basically turn this off. It just goes back and go through that loop again. Read the test programs on your own. They're really straightforward. They're not that difficult. The OSD, the mouse, the OSD, and the ghost. We're gonna cover them in details later in a later video in a later module.